All right, for our final landscape, we're going to start with our pencil. And of course, we'll draw a horizon line to start out with. Remember, the horizon line should be halfway or higher. Halfway on the page or higher. Please draw a small building in the background. It can be a barn or a house. Make sure that it is touching the horizon line. You can add some shapes and lines to make details, extra details. I'm doing mine on kind of some farmland, so I'm putting a silo, maybe 2 silos. Lots of details here. Now I'm going to draw a road. Remember, we have a diagonal line, and then our diagonal line is very close together, and it gets farther apart the closer it gets down to the bottom. This allows it to look like this is in the front and this is in the back. Then we'll add 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After we've drawn everything out, let's see, let's add one more thing. The sun. Remember, the sun is setting. After you've drawn everything in pencil, all of this, now you're going to start outlining with your black Sharpie. So every line that you've done in pencil, redraw with the Sharpie marker. Now that you have it outlined with Sharpie marker, we're going to add shapes and lines to make designs in all of our sections, including the sky. Remember, we have the setting sun, so I'm going to use yellow to start out with, to start making some curved lines above my sun. I'm leaving a little bit of a space. It's kind of looking like a yellow rainbow right now. I can even change my colors. Maybe the farther out it gets, the more of the sky we start seeing. So I might use some blue to represent the sky. And we talked about lots of shapes and lines to make designs. We can use any of these shapes or any of these lines in each of our fields. I'm going to start with this loopty line. So maybe right here in this field, I create loopty lines. I'm using the same color, the same line in this entire field. Now that I'm ready to move to another section, I'm going to change my color to something I haven't used and create, this time, a shape. I'll do this until all of my fields are filled up. I'm even going to use white on this last section. This gets kind of tricky. I like the way it ends up looking. I can't see it at all. But when we use the watercolor on it, I bet it'll show up. Boy, I hope so. I can't see anything right now. You can even add a shape or a line in the road itself. Now it's time to paint. Remember, keeping the bristles going the same direction at all times. We're using watercolor, so I need to dip it into my water gently, gently. And I think to start out with, I'm going to activate my colors. So I put a little drop of water in each of my pans. Now I'm going to load my brush. That means that I'm going to take my brush and put it into the paint, swirling it around gently, of course, until I have lots of paint on my brush itself. Then I'm going to go into one of my sections and paint. Oh, I love it. It's almost like magic. Remember, oil pastels and watercolor paints don't get along very well. So when the watercolor paints go on top of them, the oil pastel says, "Hey, get off from me, this is my space." So it pushes it right off from there. So we can still see the oil pastels really, really well. When I'm switching my colors, I'm going to go back into my water, rinse it out, and then choose a different color for my next section. This time I think I'll take orange. So I'm loading my brush. I'm going in here. I know, let's try this section. Remember, we used white for that section. Oh, cool. Look at that, the white shows up. It's still an oil pastel, so it says, "Hey, watercolor, I don't want you on me." Oh, that's perfect. What a magical thing. It's kind of like a hidden message. You'll continue painting until your entire picture is filled up. All right, here's my completed landscape. Now, if I was to do a reflection on this right now, I would say that I really like how the white looks with the watercolor. I also like this purple and red next to each other. Things that I would change to improve if I were to do this again: I might use oil pastel in this area rather than watercolor. So I might color this in with oil pastel instead of watercolor next time. Other than that, here we are. Here's our final landscape.